Shalom people, this is Brother Lyles coming at you with another video. And as I see this stuff transpiring between the Ashkenazi Jews over there in Israel against the Palestinian people in the West Bank, in the Gaza Strip, and also the incursions that are happening between Lebanon and Israel and Syria. I'm under the opinion, and I kind of touched on it a little bit in my last video, that this is the beginning of the downgrading of Islam across the world. And why do I say that? I say that because although to me the biggest threat that has been against us as Hebrew people, as black people, has been Christianity, and in the fact of how many of our people have been negatively affected because of religion. It's been because of the Eurocentric Christianity. But Islam has been a close second to that. Understanding that when I say religion, I'm talking about, because we understand that the Elohim, or the God of Islam, is a pagan God. It doesn't exist. It's not real. Allah, the cobblestone, whatever they radiate toward, is not real. We understand that. It's an amalgamation of a bunch of different personal gods, that when Muhammad went into Medina and he had his family god that was the moon god, and he said, this is the God that all the people of the Arabian Peninsula at that time, that this is what you're going to worship, one Elohim. Understanding again that these people that they call Arabs are not the original people of that land. It's the descendants of Ishmael. We understand that Ishmael has descendants still there in the Arabian Peninsula, but they're hidden out. The House of Saud and all those know that they're not nothing but posers, but because they are of Japhetic background, they are able to possess that. But Ishmael is still there. But the religion of what we call Islam is a creation of Ishmael, because Ishmael has always felt that he was shorted, and that he was the first son that was born to Abraham, but he was not the child of promise. But that does not mean that the whole descendants of Ishmael would be totally lost, in the sense of they can never get back to the Most High. This is not saying that, but what the enemy did was help them create their own thing. And so that if you see the descendants of Ishmael, whether they're of his stock, or those that are derivative, or meaning the admixture of Ishmael and other races, you will see that they have a gravitation to go toward Islam. It's almost like an inherited thing. So when you see that, you understand that there has to be a break in it. It has to be a downgrading, just like amongst us as Hebrew people, as black people of the promise. There is a affiliation with this Eurocentric Christianity, which is to our detriment, to our downfall, especially when you look in Africa with Catholicism and everything. So if you place Islam and Christianity, Eurocentric Christianity, side by side, you will see to the black race, to include Ishmael, because Ishmael is a Hebrew too, because he is of the seed of Abraham, but he's just not of the promise, you will see that these two are detrimental to us getting to the Most High through his son Yeshua, right? Because in Islam, they're promoting the Mohammedanism. They're promoting the Kaaba worship. But in this Eurocentric Christianity, they're promoting the Pope. They're promoting worship of these images of a European Japhetic image of the Most High and his son, when he said not to make no images of him at all. What Islam tries to do is say, we don't have no images of the Most High, but you've got this Kaaba stone thing that you're bowing down to the cube, right? Which actually, if you look at it, it traces back to this thing called Eurocentric Christianity, and this thing called Talmudic, the Judaism, all of it together. Remember, the three-chord strand is hard to break. The devil never puts all his eggs in one basket. But getting back to Ishmael, when you look in West Africa, the Hausa people, and I'm not a geneticist, so if I say some things wrong, then, you know, it's not because per se that it's not accurate. It's just that because I'm not a geneticist, I'm not going to pronounce it, all the different things dealing with the cross sectioning of the tribes and all that. But I believe this from a brief study of the Hausa people in West Africa, really are all across Africa. It's about 89 million of the Hausa people there in West Africa, in all Africa, and most of those are of the Hausa people on the continent of Africa are in northern Nigeria. It's my belief, and also just looking at some of the studies, that they say the Hausa people are of Afro-Asiatic descent. And you find, like I said, most of them are Islamic in their beliefs. Not all of them, some of them are, but the majority of them. But I think about Genesis 20, the promise that Yah made to Abraham about Ishmael. And here it is. It says, and as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him and will make him fruitful and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princesses shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. And I would say to the Moorish invasions that happened starting out of the Sinai was that was Ishmael. That this religion thing that they created of Allah, which is amalgamation, all these things started there in the Sinai Peninsula with Ishmael and his descendants, and then it spread out. And then it spread into Africa. It started conquering people. Now understand, it wasn't a good thing, because they was worshiping a false deity, and they was bringing it by the sword. But it did make them into a great people. It spread into the Middle East. It spread into Africa. Then it spread into parts of Europe, and it got so strong that the Christian kings, the Eurocentric Christian kings in Spain and in the Iberian Peninsula, said, hey, look, y'all armies are mighty. Can y'all come up in here and help us fight against these other Christian kings? And we know what happened, the occupation of the Moors in Iberian Peninsula in Europe, where they took and they civilized all the Europeans, the Moors. That to me was a drive of the descendants of Ishmael, that prophecy that he said he would be a great nation. Now, we know that Moor just means black. So that means that all the ones that were in there were black. But I believe it was Ishmael. I believe within the Moorish invasion, I believe it was some of our people, not as many as people say. And I believe it was the descendants of Moab and descendants of Ammon, some descendants of the Egyptians, some descendants of the Canaanites, all who had united around the God of Islam, right? And went into conquer by the sword, into perpetrate this on the people. And we know that after 800 years, when the Christian kings got enough education and enough civilization of themselves to understand different things, how to drive the Moors out, the Most High allowed the Moorish invaders to be pushed back into Africa, into northern Africa. And then Ishmael himself, as a black man, right, as a descendant of Abraham, he started to diminish as the European brand of Islam and those start fulfilling the prophecy where he said Japheth would possess the tents of Shem. Because remember, Ishmael was a descendant of Abraham, therefore he was of Shemitic, which when you read about the house, which I think the Bible said here that Ishmael would bring forth 12 princesses, I believe that the house of people in Africa, in particular West Africa, of the descendants of Ishmael, that they were driven back, and they definitely have lost some of their definitely their power, in the sense of, when you look at Islam, you see those people of the Palestinians and all those ones that are Caucasian in appearance, and you say these are the real Arabs. Well, no, they're not. But I believe that in the times that we're living in now, that the Most High has to diminish this God of Islam in order for some of those people to come to faith in Yeshua. They have to be diminished. Now, the same thing is gonna be for this Talmudic Judaism now, because it has to be diminished too, right? Because one of the plans that we talked about was Al-Gapite, or Third World War, to him and the other Mancini or whatever his name was, talked about or prophesied about under their demonic powers, that they had to bring the power of Islam and the Talmudic religion down in order for the ultimate religion of Luciferianism, which has no religion and say you just worship who you is. But this is a two-edged sword. Yes, it will bring in a type of, atheistic type thinking, but it also will loosen the grip that Islam and the Talmudic Judaism has had on the people, in order for them to go sway the other way. You sway this way or sway that way. That's why when the Antichrist come, for the most part, when he introduces, hey, you don't have to deal with this crazy Islam cobblestone stuff no more. You don't have to deal with this crazy Talmudic thing where you go to the Wailing Wall. Just believe in yourself. Just worship yourself. Most of the people are going to go for it. But some of them that are going to be loosened from it are going to be able to turn and grab hold to the Father through Yeshua. So it's going to work out for those that love Yah and are called according to his purpose. Yah has people amongst the people of the Arab nations that he has to bring in. And I'm primarily talking about, hopefully, Ishmael and his people that's in Africa and West Africa. Because if you look at Eurocentric Christianity, I think, and I could be wrong on the numbers, that the Islam is either definitely a close second, or might be a even more population of the descendants of Abraham that are in Africa. They will outnumber them. Look at the stuff that's going on in the Sudan, right? And years ago, and I talked about this story before. Me and my wife was watching this is probably maybe 20 years ago, when we was looking at the guy, Dr. Franklin. I can't remember his first name. He does the DNA and all that, and he traces who you are, whatever. The one that got arrested on his own porch in Harvard, or whatever his name is, the black guy. But anyway, when he went to Sudan, this is about 20 years ago, and this is before we knew who we were, and he was going all throughout Sudan, and he was talking to all these Sudanese people, and they were not the ones that Darfur, not the Nilothic ones. I'm talking about the other ones, and they was like, we're not African, we're Arab, right? And so me and my wife, not knowing anything about that, I was like, man, why African people always got to act like they something that they ain't? But now that we understand, they knew, hey, we're not from Africa, we're of the descendants of Ishmael, we're from the peninsula, right? And that's why they are remnants of those Moors, those Islamic things that invaded in. Think about Mansa Musa. Now, of course, some are saying that Mansa Musa was a Hebrew, but was he a Hebrew of the child of promise? He could have been Ishmael descendants, not Jacob's. Because remember, they both are Hebrews. I believe that the Hebrews are most of them are in West Africa, but that does not mean that all of them are of Jacob. I believe some of them are of Ishmael, which is, I think, the Hausa people. I believe that Fulani are descendants of Esau and some other tribes, definitely, right? Actually, they're found all throughout Africa. But the point is that Ishmael shall be a great people. I don't think it's the Most High wants it to be that their heritage is that they're gonna go down in flames with Islam. That's why I believe this stuff that's going on with the Hamas and all these people that's doing all this, and believe me, I believe it's controlled opposition. I don't believe that Netanyahu and the Mossad and all those allow all that ammunition and all that stuff to come in there and they had no knowledge of it. I do not believe that the Mossad is the best spy agency in the world. The Israeli special forces are the best special forces in the world. The IDF, for its size, is one of the best armies because, remember, they worship the God of forces, right? I don't believe that. I believe that this has been allowed to happen as a pretense for them to get those people out. That's what I believe. And now the story is coming out, and they're probably what they're gonna do is delay it for a year or so when it doesn't matter. But it's already coming out that even if they did not know over the years, that Egypt told them 3 days before, hey, these Hamas people getting ready to launch an attack, and they didn't do anything about it. That's why they're trying to do hearings. But that's why Netanyahu is trying to say, oh, let's get to the task at hand. Let's get rid of these Hamas people, and then we can talk about it later. They're not going to talk about it later. And if they do, they're going to say it's a conspiracy theory. They're going to say it's a lie. But I do not believe that. But I believe, again, it's the Most High. He has to bring down this Islam a notch. He has to do it. This is just my belief. Because, like I said, he said, he promised Abraham. He said, I understand, Abraham, you wanted Ishmael to be the child of promise, but he's not. He said, but I won't forget him. I will not let him diminish. And I remember, and I'm getting ready to end this video, but it was a brother I knew many, many years ago, and I have much respect for him. I don't know where he's at now. I do believe that he operated in the power of a prophet. And I remember listening to his broadcast one day, and he was preaching, and he said, and the Lord said, Ishmael will be a great people. He said the Lord is going to save these Islamic people. Now, I don't know if he believed we were the people or whatever. I don't know that, but I do believe what he said is true. That Most High is got a people amongst them, in particular Ishmael, the original people, just like us, because they're descendants of Abraham. I believe that it's time, their time, and I pray that those in West Africa, as they see all this stuff going on with the Hamas and all these different things, that they understand this thing that they're tied into the Arabian Peninsula with these wicked converts to Islam is not of a benefit to them. And even when they go to the Hajj, even when they go over there to Mecca, they say that they're treated less than the people there that's in the Sinai Peninsula, even though we know it's 9 million of Ishmael's descendants in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, but they're not shown, right? So with that, I'm going to ask you to pray for Ishmael, in particular the nation of Niger. Niger, outside of outside of Nigeria, I think the nation of Niger has about 13 million of the house, which like I said, I believe they're descendants of Ishmael. Pray for them as they try to break free of France, but that the Most High also help them to break free of this Islamic religion stuff that they, just like we pray for our people in West Africa to be broke free from Eurocentric Christianity with the Seventh-day Adventists and Catholicism with their idols and all this other kind of crazy stuff, and these prosperity preachers that are a plague in Africa. Pray for our people, whether if they're, and let's just say Hebrew. They might not be of the promise, but they are Hebrews. They are descendants of Jacob. They're black people, and you really wouldn't know them unless they told you. But remember that Most High made a promise to Abraham for them too. So with that, I want to ask you to give this video a thumbs up. I'm going to ask you to leave a comment, and I'm asking you to share this video. Be blessed.